Hello everybody, Prowl here, and today I want to talk to you guys about the Copper Golem. The Copper Golem is a new mob that is being added into Minecraft. It is in preview right now. We don't know when it's going to come out yet, but it'll come out in the next update. And I wanted to have a little bit of conversation about this guy. First, I'm just going to give you some general info about how he works. But second, and more importantly, I want to talk a little bit about how he doesn't work, what he doesn't do, what's wrong with him, and then some recommendations I have for Mojang to make this little dude even better. I will say I love the direction and I love what it seems like the intent is with the Copper Golem, but implementation wise there's some really big problems, and there's a really specific area I think they should focus on to make this guy amazing for what it seems like he's intended for. And to start out with, what it seems like he's intended for, or what his purpose is to just be able to take items from a copper chest and then move them to regular chests. So the way it works is, first you spawn in your Copper Golem, you place down a copper block of any type, and then you will get that same color and type Copper Golem and copper chest to spawn in. Now, what this guy will do is he'll check his copper chest right here, and then he will move stuff into chests that you have set aside for storage. So let's just say you have a small early game simple storage system, something like this, something that gets you started in the very beginning of the game. And you have stuff inside of these chests. Maybe this chest right here, I have some wood, and I'll talk exactly about how this works here in just a little bit. And then the other stuff we'll let him sort on his own. But basically what he'll do is he'll take these items out, and then he will search nearby chests for those items, and then put the items into the corresponding chest. I believe he does this check every 7 seconds, so he just checked this a moment ago and saw that there was nothing in there. It's been a few seconds. Now he's checking again. He sees that there's stuff in, and now he will go and he will search every single chest one at a time. When he finds an item that goes in that chest, he puts it in the chest. He will take 16 items out at a time to move them over. So again, he's moving 16 items at a time, and he will just go back and forth. Let me take some of these items out that I did not put in this chest, so you'll kind of see that he will alternate chests. And then I'm going to tell you how far he can reach and what he can do exactly with those items. But you'll see here, when he finds a chest he cannot put something in, he'll then go and search the next chest. There's no specific order. He's supposed to just kind of do it from closest to furthest. And since these chests are empty, he's putting stuff in those chests. Now you'll see that chest has no room in it, so he'll skip that. He's going to come to this one, and then he's going to put that in there because he already put jungle wood in there. I took the jungle wood away, so now he'll get something else. He's got acacia. He looks in there, can't put it in there, so then he'll go to the next chest. He'll go to put it inside of this chest right here. And you'll see, even though there's a ton of space in there, he will not put it in. Why does he not put it in? Because he will only put in the same items that already exist in that chest. It's kind of like an item filter. So since there's already jungle planks in this chest, he's not going to put anything other than jungle planks in this chest. Now, if I were to add acacia planks to the chest, and then he looks in and he sees that there's already acacia planks in there, then he will put those planks in. As you can tell, he does not have a good memory, so he will still look in every single chest every single time. He doesn't remember what's inside of a chest. And more so, he does have a limit of chests that he will search before he kind of restarts his searching feature. And that limit is 10. So after he looks inside of 10 chests, he does a little beep bop boop thing, and then he will start searching chests again. But there's a big problem with that, which is he doesn't remember what chests he's already searched. So if you have more than 10 chests, the odds of him making it all the way down to these chests over here is pretty low. So he is currently not a good solution for any like mid to late game storage unless you start getting very technical with him. And there's nothing that really explains this in the game. So in my opinion, a brand new player that interacts with the golem for the first time and gets him will just put stuff in here thinking, oh, he's going to sort all of my things into chests. And that's not going to happen. And they're probably not going to understand why. This is problem number one. Now that you understand the basics of how he works, this is the range in which he detects. And actually, this range is from the Copper Golem. It is not from the chest. So the Copper Golem will search 16 blocks out in each direction and 8 blocks up or down. This is not the same as what the patch notes say. The patch notes misstated it. So it is a big circle. Imagine a big sphere right here. That is the detection range of the golem. That sphere moves with the golem. So if the golem's over here, then he may decide to go further and check chests further away. This is another problem because it's possible that if you put a golem free roaming in a base and he's checking chests and not finding stuff, and he gets to a point where he's over here, he's not going to detect that he has his copper chest over here anymore, and he's going to get stuck away from that copper chest. Now, the maximum height that the copper golem can reach is 2. If you put a slab down, he cannot reach up to a third chest, so he just reaches 2 blocks up. And he is 1 block tall, technically. As you can see, I can put that there, and he fits underneath of it. So his antenna kind of goes through it, but he's 1 single block tall. And any other questions you may have about these chests, they work just like a normal chest. They interact with redstone in the same way, hoppers the same way, everything. So that's the basics of how it works. There's probably a little bit more intricate details I could go over, but I wanted to go over a little bit more of his limitations, because some of you guys that are technical, or some of you guys that aren't, this is going to matter to you, especially when I get to the end here. No, by the way, here's the new copper armor. It's kind of useless. It just sits in between stone and iron. So I don't know, a player like myself, I would probably never use it, or if I did, I might have it for like 30 minutes before I go find some iron and just upgrade to that, because iron's a decent amount better, but it looks really cool. It looks really, really cool. Anyways, I've started to kind of experiment around with a few different designs, a few different things, just to try to find some good uses for the copper golem. I'm not going to go in depth on these right now, but things like item categorizers are going to be possible with the copper golem, and there are ways to make it work as a like item sorter. But here's where some of the problems really start to come in. Those problems are that the copper golem, its AI is incredibly bad. You saw just a second ago, those guys were just stuck on each other, pushing each other. That happens a lot if you have more than one, not just in enclosed spaces. It'll happen out in the wide open. They'll just push each other around a lot, because one might be trying to path to a chest and another might be trying to path to the copper chest. So they just bump into each other, and they stay bumped into each other for a while. So they're very slow in that regard. Another weird thing is if you try to make some sort of a like item sorter system, and I didn't get far with this because it wasn't working right, so I didn't bother going much further. But as you can see here, if I put a copper golem here, and he's going to pull items out of this chest, the copper chest, and he's going to go down here, watch what he does. He skipped that chest, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and then he goes to the 5th chest, and then he skips the 6th chest and goes to the 7th chest. And then he works his way around to this chest here that I had as like a dump chest for him. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. Everything here is set up exactly the same. I've had instances where I've set up other similar type of areas where I have the blocks configured a little bit different. He won't open any chests at all, but he literally can get right to them. So I don't understand why this is happening, but there are some pretty big issues that they're going to need to solve. Now, this sort of thing happens in a lot of different scenarios. When you start stacking chests or doing really anything to try to like control its pathing or how it works, the copper golem starts doing some weird stuff that you can't explain, and it's not totally predictable. About the only thing that you can have it predictably do is access that like last chest that it'll do. So my thought process here was I would have the golem go through 9 chests, and then if it doesn't have an item to sort, it would go to chest number 10. It would drop the items in, which would get sucked out, meaning the items don't stay in that chest. And then it would have a path to go back here to the copper chest to start again. And even more so, to speed it up, I could put 2 or 3 golems in here and kind of have them do the loop. But due to these types of bugs, that's not really possible. And then from there, it would be about figuring out the best way to stack it. You know what I mean? Like we would have another row and another row, and then you could have a little mini like early to mid game storage system made of the golem pretty easily that could carry you into the late game before you make something with redstone if you wanted to. But yes, this little dude right here, his pathfinding and his just AI detection in general, in terms of what can he and what can't he do, is not very good in its current state. So how do I think this little guy should work? So I'm going to give you a good example, but let me just kind of talk you through it first. I think this dude right here, I think that it needs to work better for its initial intent, which is its intent is very obviously to be for early to mid-game play. So you as a player don't spend a ton of time doing this. You get back from an adventure and or building something or gathering materials, and you have to look in here and you have to look in here, and you end up spending, you guys all know this, you spend 10 minutes inside a chest sorting stuff and putting stuff away, or you just dump things in a chest and then you have to spend forever looking to find your stuff. You go from chest to chest to try to find your things, and nobody likes to do that. It takes a lot of time. So the intent is that you, the player, when you get done doing something and you need to empty things out of your inventory, you go to the copper chest, you dump those things in here, you just throw them in, and then the copper golem just slowly sorts it for you over time. This is the way it's supposed to work. He's your personal assistant, basically. And that's a really cool idea, and I think a great place for him to be, because not everybody knows how to make really good storage systems. Not everybody wants to spend time sorting their things. So this is a great solution for people that want a low-tech way of doing things, and it's at a trade-off, right? This golem, he's a little slow, which is fine. I think it's good that he's slow for the thing that he's intended to do. And he has like size limitations in terms of how big or how far he can go. There's a lot of limitations to the golem that makes him fit really good in the early to mid game. But then for people like myself and others that are technical players, we will find a way to use those early game mechanics that just exist, and we'll find a way to make those mechanics do other things. Right? We're going to find a way, which will also be cool and fun and give us a different way of doing things. So how do we make it work for that? I'm assuming, first of all, that Mojang has him only check 10 chests for a few different reasons. Maybe he would get stuck and he'd be searching chests forever, going back and forth. Or maybe there's a lag implication for it, where if he searches more than 10 chests or has to remember more than 10 chests in his memory, that it gets laggy for slower devices. There could be a few different reasons why. But I'm going to assume there are reasons why. The solution isn't just that you fix his pathfinding and he checks more chests. That's just going to exacerbate the problem. It's going to make it's going to delay the problem. It's going to make it take a little bit longer before the problem is resolved. And the solution is not going to be to just make him check more chests. That's just going to delay the issue. The issue is still there. So I'm actually going to propose a change. When he does this, when he opens a chest and then goes through the animation of opening a chest, grabbing an item, and probably does a little beep bop boop thing down here, like you'll probably see him do, like this little thing, right? I think what he should do is he should scan every chest in the area in this size. He should scan it. This is possible to happen. I know the game's capable of it. I don't know how much lag it creates, so maybe this isn't a good solution for that, but I think it is. When he does a little beep bop boop motion, he scans every chest. And then upon scanning those chests, he knows that a chest has a certain thing. If he grabs cherry planks, then he will know that cherry planks are in this chest, and then he'll go place them in there. Okay? That's going to be his process. That's when he checks for the chests, and that's when he does everything. And at that time, he will also check for pathfinding. So he picks up the item from the chest. He does his beep bop boop thing. He checks everything. This is something that happens in the background. And then let's say he detects that this chest right here has the bamboo planks. Then he will do a check to see, can I pathfind to that chest? If the game responds back, yes, you can pathfind to that, he just walks over to it, he places it in, and then he walks back over and he repeats the process. If the answer is no, if there's something obstructing his access to this chest, then that will fail, and then he will keep scanning for another chest or go to the next chest that has an available slot. One of two things will happen. Either a chest will be detected in range, at which point he will go to that chest, he will be able to pathfind to it, and he'll put it in, or it'll fail. He won't be able to do it, at which point he will open this copper chest back up and he will place it in the last available slot. Or another thing will happen, he will fail. He won't be able to find a chest to put it in. He'll go back to his copper chest and he will put it back, and he will remember, I could not find a place for that. And then he will go through every other thing in the chest first before he comes back to try the bamboo planks again. And then if he gets back to those bamboo planks, he has them and he scans and he can't find a place for them, well, then he'll just go through his normal routine of going in and out of the chest. To me, this process would be absolutely perfect. And I'm going to give you a good setup and layout of how this would work good for early to mid game players. But what this means is he will do a check every time he opens this chest and there's an item in it for him to take. So if there's an item inside of the copper chest, then he will do a scan for all the chests in the area. This does a few things. It means if he does not have an item in here, he's not doing his check, so he's not causing extra lag when this is empty. That's thing number one. Thing number two is he only does the check when he beep boop bops with the item. So there's a one-time check. It's not a constant thing where he's constantly scanning the area around him. He only does it when he's right here. That's it. This will also mean that he gets kind of defined to a specific area. The radius then becomes around the copper chest or any copper chest in the area that he decides to pull from. The radius is no longer, it would technically be around the golem, but really it's not at that point. It's around wherever he accesses this chest. So you can predict how big of an area a single copper golem will be able to access, which gives him a little bit of stability, a little bit of predictability, which is good. We want to know exactly how he's going to work. We don't want him to wander off to a chest down here and not find his copper chest again. So this solves that potential problem as well. So lag shouldn't be an issue. Maybe if there's too many chests in the area, it could be. I don't know. Mojang will have to think of a solution for that if it is. But I still recommend going this route regardless. But he does one check. That's it. Every time. He then does a pathfinding check to try to get to the chest, and if his pathfinding fails or if he can't get to it or whatever, then he'll go to the next chest, and it will always be in terms of proximity to the golem. So he will always go to the closest available chest first before he works his way down. So what type of setup would this enable? Let me build something super quick. It's not going to look pretty, but it'll work. Okay, this is the perfect example of how I feel like the copper golem should be able to work. Our copper golem would go in, he would open this chest up, and then he would do a search if he gets an item. So he'd get an item in his hand, he would do his little beep boop, and then he would be able to detect in this range what chest has that item in it. And whichever one is the closest, he would pathfind to. So in a setup like this, if that chest was down here, he could just walk over and open it. If the chest was up here, he would see that he could pathfind to it. He would come over to the stairs, go up, and pathfind to that chest. So he would be able to go to any one of these chests. Again, remember, the downside of a system like this is it's a little bit slow. Hoppers and like any type of like hopper-based storage would be way faster. It's more complex. You need more items, and it requires other downsides like putting hoppers all over the place, and things don't look as cool, and you have to have a lot of redstone. So it's a trade-off. Do you want easy and simple but slower, or do you want more complex but faster? But he would go through and he would search all the different chests, and he would put the item in if it exists somewhere. Now lastly though, if that item doesn't exist anywhere, let's say he has hoppers, and hoppers aren't in any of these chests, then he would look for the closest empty chest. And in this case, let's say all of these chests are full with different things. His empty chest would be right here. And this is what he would do. He would go up here, he would come over, and he would place the items into the empty chest. And then those items would get drained out with a few hoppers, and they would go down to this overflow storage that I have. So this overflow storage would then take those items in. Now he won't try to get to these because he can't. So he would check, and he would see, let's say like he sees that this chest up top is empty, which I blocked off and I can't get into. But let's say that this chest up here is empty. Then he would say, okay, that chest is empty. I want to go to that. Oh, but I can't pathfind to it. I can't reach it. And hopefully we'd have to have some way to where either we would have to block it off to where he can't, like he would have to have a door, or maybe he wouldn't be able to detect it through these trapdoors. I don't know. But he wouldn't be able to reach this chest. And then he would say, okay, well then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to put it in this empty chest. So this is how, to me, the copper golem should work. It would be a perfect solution, and it would work so good for people that are not super knowledgeable. This is bothering me. are not super knowledgeable about how the game works. They're not super technical. Maybe they're newer players, maybe they're younger players. He would work in a very common sense way to where anybody could figure out what he's going to do. You would figure out how far away he goes. Oh, he doesn't go to that chest down there. I guess I got to move it closer. All of that would eventually make sense, and people could easily figure it out on their own. And I think this is something that they should be able to do. Remember, this is their first iteration. This is their first try. So this is something that is definitely possible for them to do. They can make changes. They can update this guy to work better, and this is the way that I hope that they do it. Anyways, I'm gonna stop babbling. I think you guys got the point. I really hope for a world like this where the copper golem works in this way, because I would love a storage system just like this. Oh, the things that you could set up, and maybe even having different copper golems in different areas walking around, or just multiple copper golems grabbing stuff out of the chest and moving stuff would be so cool to just be able, just picture seeing like 3 of these guys just going through and sorting your stuff for you when you drop stuff off. It would be one of the coolest things ever to come into this game. In its current implementation, I would never use them like this. I would never try to use them in an open area. I would just simply, I'll find some way to make them work in a little cage, and I'll make them work like that. And that would be a shame to have these little guys, the only real purpose that they have in the game, to be caged up behind a storage system just so you can make them do something. So hopefully, Mojang, I hope you guys hear this. I hope you like some of these ideas, and I hope some of these solutions that I've given make sense and can work in the game. I thank everybody for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know, what do you think of this idea? Do you think that this is how the copper golems should work? Let Mojang know. They may be reading the comments down below. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.